Serving safe food is a primary act of customer service. We wish to offer a superior product, and safety is certainly the foremost key to this. In this presentation, you will gain awareness of potential hazards to food safety and learn safe food handling practices. Foodborne illness is a rather self-explanatory term. It's a sickness from food that hasn't been cared for correctly. All employees coming into contact with food need to be aware of potential dangers and how to prevent them. The four biggest dangers to food are cooking and holding food at the wrong temperatures for too long, allowing food with harmful stuff in it to contact food that's ready to serve, not cleaning and sanitizing properly, and poor personal hygiene practices. Any of these bad habits can occur in our supply chain too, so before our food even reaches our campus, managers make sure they purchase safely. To avoid purchasing from unsafe sources, your manager is careful to pick suppliers that are reputable. If you are a receiver, you will have opportunity to see those suppliers firsthand, and you will be trained by your supervisor to check the food we receive to assure proper temperatures, safety, and quality. Those of you involved in cooking, cooling, reheating, or serving food will need to be attentive to the temperature of the food and how quickly the food is brought through unsafe temperatures. You will be taught how to monitor those temperatures and what to do if you find one that's not right. You will learn how to keep from cross-contamination by using techniques of time, space, and dedicated equipment. And you will learn principles of cleaning and sanitation which keep our food safe. Interestingly, the most common source of contamination is the person involved in food service. Personal hygiene is integral to any plan to keep food safe and customers healthy. As we'll see later, your hands are the most important aspect. Our supervisory chefs and managers are ServSafe Food Safety Manager certified. This certification is accepted all over the country as setting food safety best practices. The training is based on solid food science contained in the United States Food Code. We have adopted common practices for all employees, which are proven protection techniques in food safety. Our focus here is on four main ways food is contaminated and basic prevention measures. You will train on specific techniques in your area which control these risk factors for the specific foods that you serve. Your manager may refer to these rules as a HACCP plan. HACCP is an acronym for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points and means that the food flow from delivery to fork has been analyzed for dangers and rules have been put in place to prevent food from being tainted. Your role will often involve observation, monitoring, and record keeping. Our dining services uniforms are chosen with a dual purpose in mind. First and foremost, a clean uniform is essential in the serving of food. Providing our employees t-shirts and hats specifically for work shifts helps the employee to consistently wear a clean uniform when coming to work. Secondly, the clean and well-kept uniform presents a professional image, the first indicator to the customer that he or she will receive superior quality and service. Always come to your workstations wearing your clean uniform and a positive attitude toward your customers. Please note that you are responsible to purchase your black pants and black slip-resistant shoes. We have information on the ways you can obtain these shoes, so if you don't yet have them, please see one of the Dining Services employment staff today. Once you are on the floor, note that you may not eat or drink in prep, service, or dish room areas. Take a break to eat or drink in specified areas. More about that later. Some hygiene rules are just plain common sense. Others may not be so obvious. Firstly, a clean uniform needs to be on a clean body. Jewelry, including watches, can actually harbor pathogens which can get into the food and make customers sick, so leave jewelry in your pocket or at home. In addition, please leave your facial jewelry home, especially if you are prepping or cooking food. The only specific jewelry exception recognized by the Food Code is a plain gold band ring. So if in doubt, ask your manager. Better yet, just be safe and don't wear jewelry. Pay particular attention to your hands. Improperly cleaned, or worse, unwashed hands, are the most common source of foodborne illness. Such a simple thing to make such a big difference. Please keep your nails short and smooth when working with food. California Food Code requires it. There should be no nail polish, as this could chip off, and we ask that you also do not wear tips or false nails when you are working with food for the same reason. We will discuss glove use as a prevention of contamination later. Dedicated hand washing sinks are required by Food Code in all prep areas. The only approved use for these sinks is hand washing, and you may only use these sinks and those provided in your restrooms to wash your hands. Wash your forearms too, up to your elbows. The water must be hot enough that it's almost uncomfortable, but not enough to hurt, at least 100 degrees. Apply soap and rub vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds, about as long as it takes to sing the happy birthday song. And don't forget under your fingernails. Then rinse well and dry with a paper towel supplied at the hand washing sink. You need to wash your hands every time you do any of these activities. Some, like after using the restroom, should be intuitive to you, but what may not be obvious is that you should wash your hands again in the designated hand wash sink of your area after washing in the restroom and before returning to work. It's easy to unwittingly cross-contaminate when you are busy, so be conscious of what you're doing with your hands. Anytime you handle money, your clothes, hair, face, or arm, shake hands with someone, use a cleaner, or switch tasks, you are exposing your hands to contamination, which spreads to the food you handle. Avoid these activities if you are working with food. If you can't avoid them, prevent them from infecting food in this way. Take off your gloves, wash your hands, and put on new gloves every time you do anything on this list. It is important to note that hand sanitizer is not a replacement for hand washing. Hand sanitizer may be used after hand washing, but remember that hand sanitizer itself can be a contaminant if not allowed to dry properly. Most foodborne illness is caused by improper handling, unwashed hands, or bare hand contact. Generally, the foods contaminated this way are ready-to-eat, or RTE foods. Because they won't be cooked or washed before service, it's super important to handle with care. Viruses, such as hepatitis or norovirus, are commonly spread by improper hand washing or glove use. In addition, Listeria or Shigella bacteria can grow in food that has been mishandled. These cause very serious illness. Besides washing our hands, we can prevent contamination by using utensils or by wearing gloves to handle food. When using gloves, you should always first wash your hands because using gloves does not replace cleanliness. Handling two kinds of food in succession could also contaminate food. This is called cross-contamination. Your gloves or utensils can contaminate food in the same way your hands can if you use them improperly. Use these common sense guidelines when using gloves. Here are some glove use guidelines. Change your gloves whenever you need to wash your hands, and always wash your hands when you need to change your gloves. Don't roll your gloves, blow into them, or put powder into them to make them easier to put on. Don't wear gloves that are too small or too large. Dispose of your gloves when they become torn or visibly dirty. Then wash your hands and put on new gloves. When taking off gloves, remove from the wrist, not the fingers. If you have an allergy to latex, your supervisor can give you latex-free gloves. Please take care of your health, for your own sake, and for the sake of your customers and work team. But if you do get ill, it is your responsibility to tell your supervisor as soon as you can. Some illnesses can cause foodborne illness in your customers. Sometimes these illnesses are very serious, even life-threatening, so call your supervisor if you have a sore throat with fever, vomiting, diarrhea, or jaundice, or if you've been diagnosed with a strain of any of the diseases on the list in this slide. You may not come to work at all in some of these cases in order to prevent contamination of the food being served. Other times you just need to be reassigned to another duty for the day. If you have an open sore, tell your supervisor. It must be covered correctly. Ooze from an open sore can have serious, even life-threatening consequences. Some pathogens occur naturally in the foods we prepare, and only a small amount of these microorganisms can actually make people sick. But proper temperature control techniques keep their levels in check and make our food safe. Remember these magic numbers, 41 and 135. Certain foods are particularly susceptible to this danger zone. These are called TCS, or Temperature Control for Safety Foods. Between the temperatures of 41 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit, bacteria such as Salmonella, Shigella, and E. coli grow in food exponentially. They will make people who eat that food sick if the food is left in the temperature danger zone for too long, allowing these bacteria to multiply. Food goes through this zone in the cooking, cooling, and reheating processes, but it's crucial to move it through the temperature danger zone within specific time restraints. Alert your supervisor immediately if you take a temperature of food that reads between 41 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. If caught quickly, a corrective action such as cooling or reheating can be taken to keep the food safe to eat. Otherwise, the only corrective action that will keep our food safe is to throw the food away. It is so important to protect our food from the time it arrives in our areas to the time the customer consumes it. Even produce that arrives in our areas must be washed before being prepped or served. Otherwise, contamination with bacteria like Listeria or E. coli can infect the food. As you apply the rules which you learn in your areas, you are likely to find that you are healthier too. Be attentive to things that need cleaning. At times you'll find yourself without a customer, and this gives you opportunity to get something clean. But often that opportunity is short-lived, so make the most of your time. Your supervisor will show you techniques that help you seize the moment and give top-of-the-line service. It is important to stress the dangers of food allergies. They can either make a customer uncomfortable, sick, or dead. Truly, they are nothing to take lightly. If a customer ever asks you what is in a certain dish, do not guess. Ask the chef who made the dish. We've only scratched the surface of food safety rules. In your areas, you'll learn specifics about prepping, cooking, and serving food safely, time parameters, and corrective actions. Serving food in high volume is more complicated than at your home. We must take extra care to prevent foodborne contamination. Often, you will be the quality control in this service. Your training will give you tools to be diligent and to keep the food flow safe.